Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Don Pod. It's been a bit. It's been a while. We thought we'd come on and have a little chat just about the draft, our pickups, and our thoughts on the players, the people, and also our start to preseason for 2023. Hello, Nathan. How are you?
Good, thanks, Sam. How are you, buddy?
I am
Sorry,
delightful.
sorry, a bit over the top there. Good, thanks.
No, bring up the levels, please. That's quite good.
People might have had to take their earphones off though for that split second. Whoa, that was
Whoa, that was
loud.
no. We like a bit of Keen.
Mm.
I was just commenting on how thorough I've been with the setup of this particular Facebook Live, and then completely stuffed the startup. So,
You got the
apologies
names
for
right,
that.
at least.
But
I'll give you that.
I did call you Nathan. That's a bit uncomfortable.
That's my name.
Yeah,
Why is that uncomfortable?
well,
Sam
Sam
and
and
Nath,
Nath.
because I'm meant to be
It's
Nath.
Nath. Yeah, it's
I've
Nath.
never been a Nath, but we don't need to go down this path.
We do not need to go down this path. Getting off to a good start. However many seconds in, and we're already off track. Right. Now, the two things about this draft wrap. We're going to get some names and pronunciations wrong, so
I'm not.
bear with us on that. But at pick 5, Elijah Sartis. That's how I've heard it, so that's what I'm rocking with.
Yep.
Lewis Hayes, key defender. Alwyn Davey Jr., we matched Hawthorn's bid at pick 45.
Correct.
Pick 54, Jaden Davey. Didn't even need to match a bid, just took him with our own pick. A pre-listed rookie in Anthony Mankara. And rookie draft of Rhett Montgomery. So pretty much as expected. I think overall we were maybe a little bit shocked that Davey Jr. went as late as he did to 45. He was expected a lot higher than that.
Which was great because we got to have that pick 25 and get Hayes in, which, was just such a... And we've talked about this since and why AFL clubs don't make other clubs pay up for their father sons.
Yeah.
Like the Bulldogs made, and there might have been some bitterness in this one, but made Brisbane pay up for Fletcher.
There's absolutely bitterness in that.
Probably because he wasn't at number 12. He wasn't as meant to go 12. But, you'd even think like the Bulldogs had the pick before us and you'd wonder, why wouldn't they just make us
make it difficult? Yeah.
I
get that. We talked about this a little bit and there's a risk involved if you go too early.
Yep, of course.
If the Dogs had done that to spite Brisbane and then gone, actually, we won't match it, then the Dogs potentially look a bit silly. But when you're within sort of 5 or 6
one pick,
picks,
you're like,
you assume that they're going to match it. And we, I'm sure, would have matched Davey Jr.
Is it that sort of gentlemanly agreement that then, Essendon won't do it to another club? Is that
possibly, but at the same time,
it's not the right way to go about it.
I wouldn't be giving any other club anything for free.
No, 100%.
So, anyway, pick 5, we'll get to the Davey brothers and that scenario, but we'll go from the top. Pick 5, Oakley Chargers, Elijah Sartis, 186 centimetres, finally breaking that mould of 180 to 183 centimetre midfields that seem to end up at Essendon Football Club.
Did you know, I just want to break in there. Did you know, so when I read the article about him, like on the Essendon website, stated that he was 186 and then it went to 187 and then they interviewed Dodoro during it and he said he's 188. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this kid's
still growing. It's like Zach Reid, he's still
growing.
Zach Reid will be 30 and we'll still be talking about him growing.
Made me laugh.
I like it. I like that we finally got... He's not a big body mid, like it's not that much different, but we do have a lot of those midfielders in that 180 to 183 range.
100%. So
it does break that a little bit. October 2004, if that makes me feel old. I don't know how you're going there. Was consistently... Now, actually, before we get into that, I need to shout out our boy Cal Toomey, Don's man, and absolute draft god. Cal, if by some chance you're listening, wow, you're incredible. Tip to go to Essendon by Cal. There was a bit of talk about us taking Philippou, who ended up pick 10, I think, to St Kilda.
Yep.
But we got the boy Sartis. So I'm going to not claim anything here. This is from Rookie Me, a website for this sort of thing. Strengths, speed, ability, vision, clean hands, consistency, and production. Not quite sure what production would be referring to. Producers.
Maybe make stuff.
Yeah. Improvements, strength and defensive pressure. I think that's strength at an 8, strength as a kid.
Yeah, he's actually, in the photos I've seen of him, his thighs and hips area look quite solid. Like he's not a skinny Like he's got some anyway.
Most of the talk around him has been the spread from stoppages and his ability to break away and get clean ball, and then using that ball, particularly going inside 50 and using it pretty well.
Yep.
Teammate of Wardlaw, who was another one I think we would have loved, but
Yeah,
unfortunately went to North and looked quite depressed in all the photos.
We've got money on him leaving the club in 2 years.
Just doing a prime moments Horn Francis. So he missed 3 months of football in 2022. Still managed to, I think, win the best and fairest. Or
from 6 games.
Yeah, the best and fairest with Oakley, I assume.
Yep.
Elite speed, good leap, natural football ability, and production. There it is again. Pretty good. And I think, I think we're pretty relieved that he went. We took him. I think taking Philippou would have been a pretty bold, ballsy move, which I wouldn't have hated, but I think you leave yourself open to be a bit. And you had some good thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, my view on that was that I think, do you look sillier? And this is what it comes down to. Do you look sillier picking the guy that everyone had at 10 or 12 and picking him at 4? If he turns out to be a spud, you're like, oh, Jesus, Whereas if Sardis turns out to be a spud and you pick him at 4, you go, well, we should have went Philippou. But then you're like, yeah, but it looks less. It's worse. Sorry, it's less worse. That makes.
I think given the position Essendon Football Club have found themselves in over the past 4 to 6 months, I think taking the safe choice was probably better. And it's not like he's a dud. He's going to be.
No. And the thing is that I was more excited about. Look, Philippou. Was it Philippou? No, Philippou.
Just Philippou.
Yeah, Philippou. He looks like a very good player. No doubts about that. He's got a lot of confidence in himself. A lot of strong attributes, good size, all that sort of stuff. But I mean, Sardis is what the footage I see is what really excites me is that kicking and the acceleration out of the contest. And they're 2 really good future football things. Like for 15 years, that'll be useful. Like that'll never, ever go away in football. If you can break away from a contest and kick the ball and hit a leading forward, that guy will just be useful forever.
Yeah, exactly right. And we did kind of tick a box, I guess, with the big-bodied mid with Setterfield.
Oh, exactly. We haven't talked about Setterfield.
A little bit of it was not even a risky pick. It might not work out, and that's fine. But he's cost us nothing. And
same as Wiedemann. They're both guys that fill a need. Like we're probably short at all.
Yeah, that's our favourite saying.
Short at all, and probably more so now in the forward line. I would. That's debatable. If we go through the plays, but Wiedemann makes a great backup ruckman to Draper. It might mean that someone like Wright plays more of that permanent forward role, which we think would be great for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I really see what they're doing there. Jones is still iffy. Like he's not training properly at the moment. He's so I can understand what they're doing, and I have no problem with the Wiedemann again was a top 10 pick in his youth, so he's had talent. Be interesting to see what happens.
It is interesting on that point that both Wiedemann and Setterfield were both top 10 picks in the same draft, I believe, and that may have been 2016. So we have 3 top 10 picks from 2016. Asterisks on that, don't quote me. I'm pretty sure that's the case. So, yeah, I mean, back on Sartis, very excited, and I think any one of those 3, Wardlaw, Sartis, and Sheasel, would have been fantastic, and that's what we end up with. So,
yeah, 100%. I'm more than happy with any of those. And as I said, I think it was just a safer. He's probably more of an Essendon. Like when it comes down to, I think what we've learned about Essendon is they like to pick the nice guy. And I think that probably swayed them a bit more. Maybe even they were sort of slightly swayed too, because he is a Victorian, and if Philippou doesn't if he isn't happy, there might be a little bit. And especially after having poor old North Melbourne, there might be a little bit of that go home.
Not poor old North Melbourne, please.
Spare
me.
Poor's fair.
North Melbourne, yeah.
Not old.
The only knock on Sartis mentioned here, the defensive running. So only averaging 1.3 tackles a game, which is poor for a midfielder, but not uncommon for a pure winger, which is the other point. That is one area we are desperate to see
the question, I guess, is do we see him playing? Do we see him playing early, or is he going to play a bit of VFL?
I think this is the beautiful thing, that new coach, particularly a coach with a reputation for being quite firm and a bit of a hard ass, I guess. All these things are exciting, whether he plays and the rest of the draft picks that we'll get to. I think, what's his weight? It was 79 kilos. So that's pretty light frame.
Who's that?
Sardis, yeah. I'll be happy either way. If it comes round one, he's lining up on the wing, fantastic. If he's getting 5 or 6, 7 more games in the VFL before he comes in, then that's fine too. I think both avenues are pretty good. Just look after him and develop him and do all those things properly. So,
yeah, you're right.
Exciting. Right. Moving on to pick, and I should have memorized this, pick 25. I should know this.
Also, one more little thing. One more, that was I was going to say. One more little interesting thing from me.
Go on. Yep.
So he was pick 5, and he's been wearing the 5 at training. So I don't know if Smith's handed it over to him.
We assume it's 5, but there hasn't been any official.
No, but he's been wearing it at training, and that could mean nothing really.
He's pick 5.
Maybe they're shorter jumpers.
Maybe he's just pick 5, but
yeah. But he's wearing 5 of the way. So he was 5. Hayes was 25.
Yes. Pick.
Davey was 45.
Yes.
And the other Davey was 54. All having 5s in them. I just thought, yeah. You know, 5 is my favorite and lucky number.
Well, you are a big J Herd fanatic.
That is me, because I am old enough to have seen him play, Sam.
So am I. Excuse me.
Wow.
Right, anyway, sorry, crack on. Get away from Nathan's numerology. That should be a segment in 2023, Nathan's numerology. If you could just get a bit more into that. Right, pick 25, Lewis Hayes, 199 centimetres. That would actually make me sad if I stopped growing at 199.
What? Really? You just say 200, wouldn't you?
You think so, you round up. He's still growing.
Well, he's only like 18, sorry, so yes, he's very likely to be.
2004, he's not even 18 yet. He's still 17. He turns 18 on the 17th.
One other thing too, I hate to go back, but about Sardis too, is they talked about Philippou that he was only 5 days short of going to the next group.
Yes, he was only eligible by 5 days.
Yeah, so the other interesting thing about Sardis was that he was only 2 months short of going to the other group too. So he's only, we're talking 6 weeks younger. Like that's not, he's still a pretty young kid. Like he's at the other end of that spectrum of being like, on the younger end of the group. Like he's not. Anyway, that's all I just want to say.
He's not. Yep, right. That sounded like there's more coming there, but
yeah, then I stopped.
Al Hayes. Last time a club drafted an Al Hayes, it ended up pretty good for them. And yes, I stole that straight from the St Kilda Twitter. Lenny Hayes.
I was going to say, yeah, that's the only one I know. And
yep.
We didn't draft him.
Wasn't that much of it. Well, last time a club. I didn't say we drafted.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Sorry, got to listen properly.
Yep, it helps with a podcast. Strengths, aerial ability. I mean, at 199, I'd hope so. Decision making, huge tick. Defensive versatility, intercept marking, kick efficiency, and mobility. Something in 199 centimeter key position players you don't see very often is kicking efficiency.
Yeah, and that's massive.
So that's quite good. Ridley stands out for that in our.
So he's a guy that will be able to take an intercept mark and use the ball well.
Use the ball well.
That's great.
That's huge.
Weighs about 3 kilos, but
82 kilos at 199.
Yeah, but he looks. Have you seen photos of him?
Yeah, he's a twig.
Dusty Fletcher looking. He's got the blood nut too, so he's.
Yeah, I was going to make comment of that, but didn't know if it was offensive.
I don't think I'm saying you've got red hair.
He has red hair.
He has red hair, which Dusty Martin had.
And he's quite pale.
Dustin Fletcher had. Yeah.
Areas for improvement, contested work and strength. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. And again, when you're 82 kilos and 2 meters tall, 2 meter Lewis doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
Yeah.
That's kind of expected and something you work on and get developed in.
So that gives us 3 defenders that we think are all in a pretty young age group, with Zerk Thatcher being the oldest, who are Reed, Zerk Thatcher, and now Hayes, who are 198. What's Zerk Thatcher? He'd be about 188, 99.
Zerk's actually 196-ish. He's actually a bit smaller than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that gives us
the rest of them.
Yeah, 3 players that are in there under 22. Zerk Thatcher wouldn't be any older than that, would he? Please don't say 23, because this is ruining my whole point. So if he's shorter and older than one.
Is this more numerology?
No, well, I was just saying it, because I think like we've been worried about our tall defenders for a while, because we love Laverde and what he does, but he's just not tall enough. Like he's genuinely not How's it? And the key forwards are getting taller. Like, the one every year they get drafted, they're like 199 or 203. Like,
Yeah.
the kids from St Kilda and what's his name, Max,
the King brothers.
Even the kids that were drafted, one of them went up to Adelaide. He was quite tall. So they're just continuing to get taller, and you can't have these 192 defenders anymore against them. They're just giving away too many centimeters.
That's right. And that's what we saw with Valverde, giving away too
Yeah.
much. Zach Thatcher, for those playing along at home, 195 centimeters and just turned 24. But this is what you see with these players, and a point I was going to make on Mr. Hayes.
I'll be quiet.
Was that I don't expect to see him playing AFL football.
No.
For some years. And you saw Zach Thatcher be one of the greatest rags to riches stories of Essendon's 2022 season. Not hard to do, but still.
There's not much competition.
They don't start to be able to do that until that sort of age. So, Zach Thatcher, although I think we'd been disappointed in what was happening in his development before that, that's what you need to do. We need to be patient. He will not play AFL this year. I'll be very surprised if he's playing AFL this year.
Which also makes the Air one who got delisted a little bit sadder, because we thought he was on a bit of a path that same way. Like, he'd played a couple of years of VFL and had showed a little bit in the VFL, a bit like Zach Thatcher. And I was expecting him to maybe play some senior football this year, because, that would have been his natural development. But obviously they didn't see enough in him.
Oh, I shouldn't tarnish you with this. I kind of think he might have been a victim of Waller coming back. I wonder if Waller hadn't, if he'd still be on the list. I know we had offered him to train with us and re-rookie him, but it seems like he might end up at St Kilda.
Yeah, but wouldn't they have, if they'd done that, they would have made that happen. If they wanted to, they could have they made the pick in the SSP, and they picked, I can't think of the name of the guy's name.
Last year or this year?
No, this year. No, sorry, not this. We picked a rookie already, and I can't. What was
Montgomery?
Yeah. So Montgomery. I mean, if Air was that good, and then they saw a use for him, they would have They would have found a spot for him.
Yeah, agreed. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah,
sort of side.
That's what I'm saying. Is that I agree that great to see him play. Like, our VFL side might even be half decent next year.
Well, that's the thing, and we've talked about this. Is if our VFL side gets better, then the AFL side should naturally get better.
Well, we'll see a clear
spots and
correlation between the success at VFL level is usually producing success at AFL level.
Yeah, correct.
Not always, but I think Gold Coast might be the exception in that. They've been pretty good in the VFL.
They were pretty good in the VFL this year, Taken at pick, and I again should just memorize
45.
45 matched Hawthorn's bid.
45.
Yeah, no, I just went to say 35. Elwyn Davey Jr., 181 centimeters, 77 kilos, actually turns 19 in Feb.
Got some good little goatee, mustachy styles going on.
Like he's
that young man. I love a young man with a facial growth.
This is no surprise. He's just a taller version of Froggy, really. Strength, speed, agility, vision, balance, tackling, and clean hands. They are all very attractive things to be reading as an Essendon supporter.
Strengths that we've been lacking.
Yes. Improvements, endurance, and production. Again, no idea what the friggin' hell.
Production. We must research this, mustn't we?
A brand new word I've never heard before. Might be a new buzzword. We might be trendsetting here. Endurance, I guess that's something you work on. And he may not be one of those players that, Jake Stringer doesn't have great endurance, but he can win you a game in 5 minutes.
Exactly. So, I think burst players, not all players are the same. Like, you don't have, a whole bunch of bloody Zach Merritts on the team. And some players go in bursts and they're very, very useful, especially small forwards or mid, depending on, you can build that tank to be a pretty good midfielder / forward. So that's, I don't have a problem with that sort of thing. Fitness can be really worked on. Skill is, I want skill.
Skill, that's right. And those sort of players never get old. It's just so exciting to have.
Skill's a lot harder to work on than fitness.
Correct. But agility is a strength. We don't have a lot of players that can do that. And I think that's why we all love Waller so much, is because he had a bit of that agility and ability to get around players.
Yep.
Balance, tackling. How long has it been since we've had a small forward other than Waller, or a medium forward that can tackle?
Yeah, and that's why I'd probably think Snelling in here a couple of years ago, he was pretty useful. But these guys are just younger, faster versions of, and can kick a little bit further.
Kick more than 25 meters. Yeah,
because I worry about Stelling's kicking range.
Field kicking's fine. Set shots.
Set shots. He had some issues at 25. We were like, what the?
Yeah.
So no, they're exciting players. They're players that'll turnstiles will tick over to come watch them, kick goals from boundary lines and do things like that.
And I mean, we all loved Alwyn Davey. So
loved the frog.
And Sheedy, the foresight to just drag him across to 100 games.
It was heard that Craig dragged him across to 100 games.
It was Sheeds. Oh well, anyway, the foresight.
But that's all right. He was class.
The foresight was quite something to be.
James got him to 100.
Thanks, Jim, if you're listening.
I think he injured himself. He was pretty ordinary in his last few games. Like I think his last game he had like 3 touches or something like that.
But he knew.
Yeah, well, he'd already had the twins. They were already at the club. Like
I remember seeing footage of these guys in the rooms doing dribble kicks at like 4.
And we've got a player, and I don't know who is it. Would be Heppel, I guess.
Heppel played with Frog.
Yeah, played with Frog, and has known these kids. Which I think is wonderful. I love that connection of the club.
Too many father sons that have played with the same player.
No, it wouldn't be. I mean, yeah.
Short of Dustin Fletcher kind of reigns or eras in a team. The one thing I guess about, we'll just call him Junior.
That's what he's.
Was that he slipped. He slipped so far. Cal had him sort of 15 to 17 in every Phantom draft or every whatever it is in the months prior, and
even on the other fantasy draft things you could read, like anyone else was doing, had him in around that 15 to 20 mark. I'm
really curious, and I can't help, and this might just be the Essendon DNA that flows through me.
I don't agree with this theory,
but be a bit pessimistic and go, well, why? Surely there's.
It's not because he's crap. That's what you think, isn't it?
No, not because he's crap. Just because maybe he didn't. I don't know. This is what I mean. I don't know.
I think it just.
Why did he drop?
It's a bit of Essendon sort of playing the little game that we play, and he didn't play a lot of under 18 footy towards the end of the year. He came and played a VFL game. They knew where he was going, and they knew what they were doing, and they're like, we don't want the bids to come too high, so we'll just try and pull you out of football there, buddy. That's my theory.
I like it, and I mean, we'll find out when he plays.
Of course, we will.
Some games, but very happy that we got him at 45. We were able to get Lewis Hayes because of that.
And I think that might be the big, because I think this Lewis Hayes could be like our sort of like a Darcy Moore, Leah, that intercepting tall defender that's going to be really just maybe never get an All-Australian, but pretty close a lot of times. Be a really handy player.
Yep. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with the Darcy.
No, you need those. They're the guys you need. That you need. I mean, I think Darcy Moore did get an All-Australian. Maybe Lear has too. I don't know.
Lear definitely has. I don't know about Moore. Wouldn't surprise me. He's a very good defender.
Yeah. Comment if you know.
Comment if you know. Yeah, get in there. Right. Pick 54. I'm prepared that time. The other Davey, Jaden.
Yep.
We'll just call him Jaden or JV. Not sure about JV.
Just call him Jaden. What's that?
The other one.
Don't make a weird dude.
Don't make a weird. Okay, fair enough. 179 centimeters, a bit shorter than his brother, 79 kilos, and no surprise, born on the same day.
Now, can I jump in with a fact there?
Expecting to read then, yes.
That I've said to someone, there surely has never been a twin coach at Twins.
That is a good point. And I was quite impressed.
Yeah, I want to point out, I think I came up with this one by myself. I didn't read it somewhere. I went, because I saw a picture of Scott and I went, oh, hang on, he's a twin. And then, that's interesting.
He hasn't coached a twin yet. He could still get sacked or something.
Jesus.
First person to.
We've had a first, people. I'm done by Chris Scott to be sacked before his first game.
The first person to quickly and succinctly prove Nathan wrong will have my admiration for the foreseeable future.
I haven't researched that at all. I'm just going with surely. How many twin coaches have there been?
Again, I don't know, and this is why I can't argue the fact, but I can.
I'm sure there's someone like in the 50s, 60s, maybe back in that time. I don't know.
I can call on our listeners to help with that. So,
yep.
If nothing else, the internet loves to prove people wrong. So,
go on.
Don't let me down here. For Jaden Davey, the strength, speed, tackling, pressure, and goal sense, another thing you could argue we've lacked for a long time.
Yep.
Sans Waller. Waller's the exception to that.
Mm-hmm.
Improvements, endurance, and limited exposure. I guess limited exposure.
2 knee reconstructions.
Knee recos. And
So my understanding is he's
endurance,
more the
same
potent
argument.
small forward, even could play a halfback sort of role.
Yep.
Whereas Junior is more of the will develop into a midfielder,
So the
sort
half
of
forward mid role.
yeah, half forward.
Whereas,
Well, even maybe more midfield, half forward, that sort of way. Whereas he might be the genuine small forward. Anyway, so that'd be interesting. I mean, I hope that he can get his body right and play a few games for us and just show what he's got.
yep. Well, the talk, and I mean, this is just fans, so grain of salt. He's better than his brother. So,
That's the talk.
but minus the knee.
Isn't there also talk that they've got a younger brother who's better again?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, that's the talk.
I can hope.
Again, comment below.
Comment if you know. Yeah, we don't do research. We forgot we were going to do this at 7:30, and it got to about 25 to 8. And we went, hang on a minute.
Oh yeah, I texted him. Are we doing this thing?
Are we supposed to be doing?
Nah, yeah, we better go do it. It's nice in
We've
this time of year
missed it
because
so much.
Yeah, you can sit down here in your shorts and it's all comfortable. It's not freaking
light outside.
It's too cold to go outside.
Yeah. Sorry, digressed again.
We did it.
So, his uncle Aaron Davey played for Melbourne.
Very good
you remember?
player.
Said Jayden is said to be a footballing clone of his father.
Oh, wouldn't that be? I liked Aaron Davey was very, very, very
Aaron
good.
Davey was very good. Alwyn was always sort of chunky in my memory. Like he seemed very broad.
Yeah,
for
he was. I think he was shorter.
Player,
like,
yeah.
Aaron, I'm going to say was taller, but not by a lot. But Aaron to me seemed slightly taller. He had lovely curly hair that never got caught.
Alwyn was 174 centimeters.
That's so small.
That is
How was
small.
Aaron?
Aaron Davey. This is the time where it's really bad to have a very loud keyboard.
I can't hear it. If that makes sense.
177. So still not tall, but taller.
3 centimeters. That's like an inch, Sam.
You'd know.
Hey, if we're talking other things, that's massive.
Where I was going.
An inch bigger. That's like
yeah.
to you.
Massive difference. Can leave that one alone, I think. Moving swiftly along. I think there's not a lot to be said about Jayden. I think exciting prospect as a small forward, but might take a little bit longer than Junior just because of the injuries.
And I think you do the right thing by the brothers too, so that they both come into the club. They both got each other. That they create. And the other thing too, when we move, obviously moving on to the next player, Mankura, is that they're going to create that, and with Tip and Woody, is they create this, and Wangani create this little culture of First Nations players who can share in their experiences, have some sort of questions with Tipper about what have you learned and all this sort of stuff. That'll, I'm sure, like Mankura moving from the Tiwi Islands over to here, it would be a massive shift in culture and life, and it'd be good to have some other brothers there that you can talk about it and deal with similar issues.
First of all, well done for your terminology there. That was elite First Nations people. I think that's the accepted phraseology. So
that's the Sardis, right?
10 out of 10 for you. I think you're right, though. I think it. I think Mosquito was an example, and I'm sure there was another Indigenous player who I can't remember that really struggled and retired early because of it. It's happened. I can't remember the player.
Yeah, that's right.
But to have a group, those guys who have similar experiences to you, and
I think we see it a bit at Richmond.
Experience from, and they're not. It would be isolating. It would be isolating to come from Tiwi Islands and come to Melbourne, come to Victoria, and
not know anyone. That
sort of team. So yeah, I think it's a valid point you make, which is a great segue. Thank you. Into Anthony Mankara.
We'll go with Mankara until we get told differently. It's fine. We're not offending him, I'm sure.
I'm sure he's not listening, even if we were.
He might be. Cal won't be.
Cal won't be, no. Cal is elite. Another one who we thought, we were worried that he might go pre-pick 40, which meant we wouldn't have got him. That was a few months ago. He did start to slip a little bit, and as it turns out, didn't get picked, and we got him as a pre-rookie draft. Whatever that means. 187 centimeters, phenomenal height for that kind of silky agility or agile player. Agility, yeah. 81 kilos. So a fair sort of.
Now, I heard a description on him. He's like a taller Anthony McDonald Tip Moody.
That makes me very happy.
Oh, doesn't that excite you? And I saw a little bit of footage of him having set shots today on his left and right, and then I can't tell the difference.
Oh, that.
Mm.
Yep, that does things to me.
Yep, and he's not his fitness. They need to work on that. You know, he came like nearly last in the time trial and those sort of things. But you can work on that. You can't make them kick properly. And I know players that have got to the end of their career and still butcher the out of the ball.
Yeah. Strengths for Mankura: aerial ability, athleticism, dual-sided. I think that's called. Is ambidextrous just hand, or does that mean foot as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why is ambidextrous? Is that's not referring to anything about a hand?
Handedness, goal sense, skills, and seemingly every Indigenous player ever X Factor.
Oh yeah, that's
that should be banned as a term
racist?
to describe.
I find that's racist.
I feel like it should be banned. It's just written on the website.
There's no productivity or production. He doesn't do production.
No production there for him. The improvements: consistency, limited exposure, and raw.
I'm excited by players like that. And I think
term.
Clubs need players like that for us supporters to be all like. I remember, what was his dreadlock? He's a massive unit of a man. He had dreadlocks. Oh, I'm gonna have to Google his name. It's gonna kill me.
Sorry, what was the start of that description? All I heard was
we had a guy back in the Courtney Johns, like just a raw talent of a player, massive unit. Remember he had dreadlocks?
Yeah, was winning all the Colemans ever. If you
listen, he was going to be the best player ever. Yep. And I love that. You know that he only played about 15 games.
You know. He did not play a lot of games, but he kicked the bag once. I remember.
Yeah,
and we're all pretty excited.
Cupido was another one too. He had massive talent. And
he's still rocking around the local leagues up here. I think
20 goals or something recently.
100 goals in a season, but not even that, like half a season.
He was massively talented, and I think he went off to Brisbane, didn't he, after us or something like that?
I think we got him from Brisbane.
Oh, okay.
And he's an absolute unit now, and that is the friendly term. Yeah.
But I love those project players, raw, talent. I just hope it clicks for them, and then they go off and become absolute superstars.
Well, I think we've got a good environment for him for that. In terms of having Waller. The Davey brothers now, again, without wanting to come across that, he's got his own people, but it is to fit in and to enjoy your time at a football club. I think that's important to have. Particularly Waller, who's 29, 30-year-old.
Do you think that, Waller was sold? I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go. Let's do that. Do you reckon Waller was sold by Brad Scott to come back and say, look, we are looking to draft 3 or 4 First Nations kids. We want you to be their role model. And because I know Waller likes being involved in the younger kids, like part of his community, like what he does outside of football is something to do with young kids, like community sort of involvement. He likes to. Don't make that sound dodgy. Something to sound dodgy. He likes to be with little kids. No, that's wrong.
Yeah, that did sound horrible. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
I wondered then if you go back then. And I wonder if that was maybe, and I don't know why the fact that he left the club at the time. Maybe he wasn't just not feeling supported by the club with having,
This is my response to that. Obviously, as if it's someone else's response. It's a dumb thing to say.
Yet it was said.
It would have been no surprise that we'd get at least both Davey twins.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been on our radar for quite some time. So that shouldn't be a new factor that he would go, 100%. Actually. Mankura would have been a little bit 50-50, I guess, throughout the year. We didn't really know what was going to happen with him because of what do they call it? The Next Generation Academy sort of pick.
Yeah. That we don't, those picks have changed in the last few years, how you can't get them now to after 40.
Yeah. It is. I mean, again, I'm making this up as I go along, as the last 35 minutes have kind of been. It is guesswork, but it kind of speaks to the whole truck player relationship, or suggests that might have some weight to it, that he retired and then he's come back with a new coach, and I don't know. We'll never know. No. But it's a valid point that you make. Super exciting.
And I don't know either. I'm just
we're guessing. We never claim to know anything. To be completely honest. Exciting. Again, may not see him next year, but we'll certainly be rolling around the VFL. And
definitely be in the VFL.
A very, very, very good reason to go and watch and support the VFL boys and girls. They play at the same time, I think. But you know what I mean. Same ground generally.
Just move on.
Yep. Thanks. Exciting. Lastly, Jesus. It was going well. It was going well until about 5 minutes ago.
Well, something happened. Go.
Yeah, was he actually a pick number? Yeah, pick 4 in the rookie draft.
Yep.
Big Rhett Montgomery. Not quite sure how long ago this photo I'm looking at was taken, but filthy mustache. Delightful mustache, I might add.
Halfback flanker, isn't he?
Filthy. Well, 190 centimeters, 83 kilos. He is 22. So a bit
He's
older.
not like another McDonald, is he?
No, because we took him in the rookie draft, not the freaking.
Well, that does make a lot more sense,
draft.
actually. Yes, that's 100% correct. He can play VFL all year and it doesn't frustrate the shiders through it like McDonald did.
And I think at that size, 190, 83 kilos, it's perfectly a valid pickup. McDonald made no sense whatsoever in any level.
He says he's going back to Richmond too.
Yep. The website isn't quite as detailed on him as a player.
No, it's hard to find much about
thing
him,
because he's a rookie draft and no one really gives a shit. But 80% kicking efficiency is a big standout. So a nice one that, we want guys that can kick, obviously. Or can't kick if their name's Sam Draper. Both
apparently it's proving.
Yeah, I did see that today. There's not a lot to be said. I think 190, it's a good size. And again,
I don't have high hopes,
VFL,
we'll see how he goes.
And, if it's bringing up the standard of the whole VFL, AFL sort of system, fantastic.
Now, the other acquisition?
Yep.
To the club?
You were saying accusation, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Go on.
We don't want that word.
No.
It was Craig Vozzo.
Yeah, new CEO. Very glad to see there wasn't a big song and dance made about that.
It's good to see he's still there after a day.
I was about 3 minutes off putting my hat in the ring, but, the announcement just beat me. Very highly respected at West Coast, was a footy boss there, I think. So, I mean, you don't want your CEO to be headline worthy, is what I've learned over the past.
You don't want any of your administration at any administration level to be making the news.
Which I think Brad Scott was a beautiful choice for that purpose.
Because no one cares about him.
No one cares. And now Craig is, again, with all due respect to the man, no one cares.
I wonder when it'll be the first reporter at what round will call him Chris. We should have bet on that.
I'd go pre-season. I wouldn't even think it's
that's arrogant, Sam.
I call him Chris. It's not a hard thing to do.
I've done the whole Brad Bombers. Brad Bad was how I used to do it.
No, Brad Bomber.
I've had to go Brad Bombers. Chris Katz. That's my only way of getting through it.
Well, I just go Chris Katz, and then the other one's Brad. I was never bad Brad. It's just Chris and the other one. It
wasn't at North Melbourne. He was bad.
Yeah, but Chris and the other one, because Chris was kind of successful. Well, until last year, or until September, he wasn't. But anyway, right. Well, that is the draft.
Did we talk about Wiedemann and Setterfield in our last cast?
I don't know, and I'm keen to have a chat anyway. I can't even remember if we talked about Brad Scott, to be completely honest.
I reckon I saw it.
It's been a long time, people.
I think the thing we would say about Brad Scott is that we don't know anything yet, because from all the training reports, we're trying to, see what sort of things go. Looks like they're just working on kicking. They're working on just a fitness, they're trying to, and it sounds like he's trying to get a base understanding of what their all strengths, weaknesses are going to be. So it's going to be a very interesting start to the year, like learning, and the learnings.
The learnings don't even get me started. It is only from fans that have gone along to training on Twitter. So
which have burnt us before with that sharing last year.
On Twitter. I would individualize you, but I don't know. I just scroll. Yeah. There was one today that they're breaking up in different groups and doing different drills, which speaks to that whole theory that he's just trying to get an idea of what he's got. We're not going to know a lot until we start playing some football, but we know that he's going to be no bullshit, no nonsense.
I did read an article on the AFL website about Pidge.
Yes.
Saying that he's going to play him as a halfback flanker or a backman, I should just say. And because he thinks that sometimes we try and progress these players to the midfield too much, and maybe that's the role he should just play, because that might be just his best role. And, he talked about how Heath, what's his name? Heath Shaw, won All Australians as a halfback flanker and never got pushed into the midfield. He just played that role and played it really well.
Played very good at it, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably an indication of something which we don't have a problem with. We struggled with it last year, but we've moved on.
we were passionately against it when it was first mentioned,
against it.
Which we're happy to admit.
Then we were shit and we went, oh, maybe we just need him at halfback.
I think my perception of it is he's a pick one. He's a midfielder. We shouldn't be playing him on the half-back line, which is possibly the view the club would go, is it a bit of a bad look to play him out of position and accept that he's not the player we thought he was going to be? But it sounds like from that article that's what we've done. We've just accepted that this is where he's going to play his best footy, and that's that.
Or is it just playing him down there for 2 or 3 years? He's still relatively young, and then he finds that he becomes the better player that we think he can be, and
possibly confidence and just getting the footy.
But let's just, I mean, the last few years with the draft picks we've had, obviously with Hobbs, now Sardis.
Seen some good things about Hobbs. Again, just fan.
Yeah, Hobbs and Sardis, and then who else? Like Perkins will probably play a bit more midfield, and those guys, they're going to push in. Caldwell that we've got too, that he's going to push into that midfield role. So
you're going right there.
Yeah, words.
After bedtime, it's a school night.
It is. So anyway, I interesting.
It is interesting, but I'm happy. Again, especially publicly, I guess, make that decision and say, right, he's going to be playing in the back line. Done. Good. Assertive. I like it.
I'm got to think if I'm going to pick him in fantasy football now. That's my big decision.
Yes, you do like your fantasy. We should do a weekly fantasy wrap.
I'd be up for that.
For 2023. I'm sure you will be. Remember that time I beat you in the grand final? It was a flake, people. It was a flake.
It wasn't. I was pretty crushed.
Yeah, good. I think that's probably about it.
Well, we're happy with Setterfield and Wiedemann?
Very happy with Setterfield. We were after him 2 years ago, and we're going to pay a lot more. So I think it's a good little get just to pay nothing and
does
see if
he
it works.
Play round one,
yes,
bearing his fitness?
Yes.
In a midfield role? Like we haven't recruited him as a wingman. We haven't recruited him as a half forward.
Wasn't it Dodoro? Someone said that basically the issue he was having at Carlton is they continued to want to play him out of position. So essentially,
we wouldn't
not
think
going to
that
do
we'd
that.
do the same thing, then, would you?
We're going to play him in the guts because we don't have that style of player, that build of player. So
exactly, and they were playing him on a wing because they had Cripps and they didn't want to put the two of them in there together. So are we going to? Is he going? I'm asking you, is he going to play?
Yes, without
round
doubt.
one.
And I think this is for a future podcast, so please don't, because I know we could talk about this all day. Our 22 at round one next year is going to be very interesting. And me and you struggle to leave guys out because we think they're better than what they probably are. But there's a lot of players now to fit in 22.
It's not saying that we're good.
No, it's just saying that we've got a lot of the same kinds.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a fair few that we sort of like, how does like midfielders at the moment. We're like, well, that's interesting. But like a guy like Cox, who's not a midfielder, I don't want to mix it up, but he's sort of a wing. Where he was playing on a wing. Is he going to come back on a wing? Is it him and Langford? What about Martin? What about Durham? Where do these sort of guys go?
Sorry.
You go.
This is what I was kind of saying about Sardis being 186. We've got so many players, midfielders particularly, in that 180 to 183. Yeah. We've got so many defenders in that 190 to 193, and same with forwards are a bit different because we've got Pete and Jones. But got a lot of players in similar brackets, similar sizes, and like, for example, and again, I'm going to save this for a future podcast, but Laverde. We're both in agreement he's a very good player, but how he fits into our best 22 backline, it's really hard to fit the guys in.
Yeah, because look, if we got Laverde, we know McGrath's going to be down there. Redmond's definitely down in there. He's, won the 2K trial. So, people are talking about him as a captain option. So he's playing at a halfback. He's not going to get moved, you wouldn't think. With Ridley's in there, is Kelly in there? D'Ambrosio, does he go down there? Hind, so we probably just named 7 or 8 players that have got to squeeze into that 6 or 7 halfback role.
For once in our lives, we disagree on some of these, which doesn't happen all that often.
So we had a fight.
We got over it. Lover's tiff.
You mean the testicles? And ran.
He did start my tattoo when it was freshly done. That was a bit rude, I thought. I can still feel it if I think about it enough.
You're meant to be tough. You got a tattoo now.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Toxic masculinity, Nathan.
Oh, yeah. Masculine-tosculinity.
Masculine-tosculinity, as you like to call it, yeah.
Yep.
Complete and utter inside joke there. Right. Best 22, we'll save that for probably early next year because that could be a 3-hour podcast in and of itself.
Yep.
Just me and Nathan bitching back and forth at one another.
But I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation, and it'll help hopefully seeing some practice games like interclub games and see, because I would assume we're going to see Brad Scott put some players in positions, and he's going to, I reckon, he's the sort of guy that's going to go, no, you're going to play there for a while. We're not going to give him 2 weeks and then, we'll try at the halfback flank. We'll go over to the wing.
Or if they complain once, just move it all around because they're complaining about it.
Yeah, well, that's right. If they complain, hopefully he just went, okay, we'll play it your way, boys.
Yeah.
So
we should forewarn.
Forewarned is forearmed.
We're probably going to be a little bit, not negative, but on the pessimistic side because based on intra-clubs and pre-season 2022, we were ecstatic and quite excited.
I reckon it was all you. It wasn't me. I reckon you got me up.
I'm going to move past that one as well. I saw some defensive structure that really, really made me happy. And
when?
It was the scratch match against the Dogs, I think, at Windy.
Yeah.
Oh, not Windy, sorry, Tullamarine.
Yep.
And there was just one passage of play where I saw this beautiful line of defenders form, and it was just gorgeous. And we didn't see that ever again for the entire season, and became one of the easiest teams to score against.
Then we played Geelong and got flogged. And went, defense, what's that?
Yeah.
They went to stop him from scoring. Oh, that's an interesting
throughout the whole season, the whole coast to coast thing.
Yeah.
Just
coast to
constant.
coast. We became I can't think of the country.
Yeah. So yeah, excuse us for that. If I can just change the subject very briefly, and I'm sorry, this is going to go away from football for a minute. Big Scotty Boland back in the test team. Victorian.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
We do love a Victorian. If you're not from Victoria, you probably won't appreciate that. But I was at the G the day before he took 6 for 7, so I was thrilled with that.
The G before. Come on, Tony. Morning, Sam. What time is it? 8:30. Better head off to bed.
Absolute cult figure in Australian cricket and Victorian cricket in particular. So
6 for 7. Who takes that in your debut?
Yeah, he's just a phenomenal individual.
Sam, a dream of those figures just.
No, let's not talk about my cricket career at the moment.
Have you made that many runs so far this year?
6 for 7. How do I do that?
A 7?
Yeah.
You've made more than that? Just.
Look, it won't take me long to work it out. It might be 7 on the dot. I think it's 9 from 4 games.
That's 9, I think, last time we talked to you.
But anyway, we're not going to talk about it.
All right, so after Christmas, we'll have a best. Well, is it a best 24 or not best? We call it not best.
We call it the not best 22 because we know it's never going to be the best 22. And
I think there's 23 anyway. You got to do.
Yeah, 23 now. Yeah, we'll call it the best 22.
Not best.
What we'll probably do is get through maybe one practice match or something, and then have a chat about what we think round 1 might look like. So we've got a bit of info. Otherwise, we go from guessing a little bit to just completely guessing.
We should really do one now and then do one then and see how.
But we've got no idea. We've got no idea what Sardis looks like. We've got no idea.
Well,
we don't have an idea at all.
The Sardis issue, I reckon, could be more around fitness and that if he's ready for senior football.
I think his body isn't quite.
Well, he's not doing well in the running things I've read in the reports. He looks a bit pooped.
That's fine. Anyway, we can't jump the gun. Otherwise,
all right.
We'll just get it all wrong rather than mostly wrong.
Well, all right. Let's wrap it up then. I want to go to bed.
I think we should wrap it up there. You are an old man who needs your beauty sleep.
Just
looking through the comments if I can, just get the people.
Oh yeah, sure. If there's comments, please, I'll stay up.
Nathan,
I didn't expect anyone to be out there, to be honest.
No, it's been really good actually.
Really? Why have you just left it to now?
Glory and Fame Don Pod on Facebook. If you are listening not on Facebook, we do it live when we do it. Nathan says the only way is up. I agree. It's hard to get worse than last year, although I've been wrong before. Another guy whose name is also Nathan.
Don't believe it.
Happen.
Am I typing as well?
Yeah. Marcus loved what Philippou said to Dodoro at the end of the draft. We need more players with that attitude. I think he was just saying, I want to play for a big club, and
he went to St Kilda.
Yeah, unfortunate. He was quite arrogant, not in a negative way, but he had confidence in his ability, which isn't a bad thing. But
yep,
we talked.
He's going to get smashed in the first few rounds by senior players. I can give you the tip.
Someone then promptly told him to go follow St Kilda, then, which is kind of funny. Matthew Vorich. Apologies if I get that wrong. Apparently, Cal Twomey seemed to think Junior slid because of the father-son system. Nobody else could get him anyway, so they wouldn't have invested time in him. No point in bidding once he's past our second pick because we wouldn't lose anything. Agree on that front. Once we had that pick 25, it became irrelevant. But just in that sort of 20 to 25, that was interesting.
Agree.
But valid point. I mean,
if
they just knew, then fine.
But it did allow us to get Hayes, which, anyway.
Yep. Rick says the boys are back, 2 exclamation marks. Not sure if he means us or particular players, but either way, I'm excited.
I'm going to go with us. I like it.
Let's do it. He also said Mankara, Davey Twins, and Tipper 2023. Kick it long, Cockatoo Collins 1993. We all know what happened next.
Yeah, I like where you're at there. I like where he's at there.
What happened next was I was born in 1993. Great year. Mankara is pronounced how it's spelt. Yeah, but Munkara sounds different. Anyway.
Munkara.
I like Mankara. If we're wrong, we're wrong. We'll fix it.
We're wrong, yeah.
For the time being.
As I said, we don't mean to be.
We're going with it. Rick Costabill, same Rick as before.
Maybe just go with Rick.
Rick.
Go with first names, mate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, fair enough. Well, last time I said Nathan, you got confused. So I'm doing my best. Loving the appointment of Brad Scott. Strong leadership, strong values, and seems like the guy in a similar vein to Voss. Follow me, and by the sound of it, younger players such as Perko, who said is very clear in his communication. That's
good.
The vibe
good
I
to
get.
Hear.
Totally agree.
Yep.
Yeah,
I just want on-field success. I don't care who brings it. I just want it.
Don't care. Yep. Just give us a finals win so you can have people
stop.
So
we fuck that whole thing off. Yep. That'd be great. And then
it never used to annoy me, and now it annoys me because it's just so irrelevant.
Yeah. So anyway, we're not going down that slippery slope.
No, we're not. And Lucas, final question, which you might be in a better position to answer than me. Who went well in the 2K time trial other than
Redmond was first? Redmond was first. Now I think Snelling was second, Kelly was third, or maybe those two were the other way around. And then Martin was third. Rusty.
And Rusty was leading a lot of the way.
Yeah, Rusty led for a lot of it and then blew up in the last sort of few hundred. But that's a great sign from him, is that he looked like he had a great tank on him when he got to us last year, coming out of the waffle.
I will never say a bad thing about Rusty Martin.
And I saw some footage of him, a photo of him as sort of like before and after of a bit like myself after hitting the gym.
Yeah, you get a
looking
fit.
Six
pack, but
I can carry a six pack around. I can carry a whole slab, buddy.
Good one. Yeah, I love my boy Rusty. Is it a bit concerning that it was Snelling and Kelly? They're not exactly players I would have pinned.
Well, no, Kelly did well last year too. So
good tank.
Kelly, I don't know. I mean, the thing about Kelly too, defenders often have to stay on the field 95 plus to 100% of the game. Like if you look at the guys that come off, it's midfielders. Now, I don't know if that means midfielders are running further or not. I'm not sure. Or if just the defenders, they still have to get up and down the ground a lot. I mean, he might just be a naturally good tank sort of guy. Snelling was the one I found was good. Interesting because he'd come off last year some pretty ordinary injuries. And he's another one we talked about. Like, how does he fit into that forward 6, 7 sort of players? Like,
Yep. Yeah, he's one of the ones with the massive question mark because we know he's capable of playing best 22 football, but we know he's also very much not.
And if McDonald, Tip and Woody's fit, what does that do to Guelphy and Snelling? Like, one of those, we can't play Guelphy, Snelling, Tip and Woody. I don't think
I think it's Guelphy and Tipper that get the nod.
Yeah, I think so too at the moment. But is Snelling at his best better than Guelphy?
No.
What does Guelphy bring? Guelphy probably brings a bit more height, a bit more ability to kick further. They've both got that passion, the tackling. They're both defensive-minded players.
Sorry, that sounded like there was more coming. I didn't want to talk over you again.
I ran out of it.
You ran out? Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, that's future.
Yeah. Interesting. Good question though, Lucas, sorry.
Thank you. We do like questions because one, it's nice to interact, but two, it makes us feel knowledgeable. We're not.
Well, no, it just makes us think differently. It makes us think, I haven't thought of that. Yeah, good question.
That probably will do us unless you have any last points. Gladon's 2023.
Oh no, I'm just excited about the young kids at the club. Like I've been, from what we've been reading, Menzies and Voss are looking good. Baldwin's, I've seen some good stuff about him.
Yeah,
He's
Kane's put on a
had a
few.
really good preseason. A bit sad. Wanganeen still looks like he's carrying some injury, so that's a bit disappointing because I'd like to see Hobbs is looking juicy. Shiel's a fit looking dude, like dude, like
Shield,
geez,
yeah.
his veins,
I don't
like
want
he's one of
to.
those.
I don't want to say it, but Shield's hot. Like,
No, I can respect that.
yeah,
Langford's, apparently he did well in the time trial too, so he's again hamstring man. Hopefully he's sorting that out.
hamstring. Yeah.
Heppel's been doing the full trial. I got back with the young kids, and his first time, I reckon, in many years. I've said he hasn't had foot problems like through the like after the end of the season, now to this season, he's actually been able to put a real good chunk of work in. So where does he end up? Parrish and Merritt and Draper's looking super juicy again. Draper juicy. So exciting. I know we got burnt this year, last season.
We did, but if we don't have excitement and at least some level of
what's the point?
Enjoyment about what might come, then there's no point. Exactly right. Lastly, then I'll just finish on. There was an interview Big Sammy Draper did. He re-signed for 2 years. That is news we should have maybe mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And he was interviewed by Channel 9, I think, and he said, I love this club. I love the red and black, and I just wanted to get it out the way nice and early. Now, if we could just clone that 23 times, not him specifically, but
probably
just
more
that
for like 40,
attitude.
Yeah.
To have a player who is good and as raw a talent as Big Drapes is, to have that passion for the club, which we see on the field. It's not just words. We
captain
see
potential.
I just love it. And I feel like that's gone by the wayside a little bit. That, we haven't had success in so long, but playing for Essendon is a big deal. A big club. Just get excited.
Yep, no, I agree.
But it is quite literally December, so we've got a bit of time to wait.
We'll get through Christmas first.
Yeah. All right, on that bombshell. It's nearly Christmas, just in case you weren't aware.
It's beginning to look a lot like
Fuck this. Yeah. Nothing else from you, that's it?
Nothing else except go Bombers, obviously.
Good. Yes, go Bombers. And we'll probably talk to you around February, I would imagine, once there's some more stuff to talk about.
Look forward to it, Sam.
Go Dons.
Go Bombers.